Welcome to another edition of Broad Street and Beyond. I have a guest that pretty much needs zero introductions, but we're certainly going to give him one because he deserves one. You know his face. You certainly know his voice. He was the Hershey Bears radio play-by-play announcer number of years. Currently the radio play-by-play announcer for the Washington Capitals in his 15th season. Hard to believe, of the Capitals radio network. Also has done the national play-by-play for NBC, their telecast when they had the NHL. Also helping out with the Olympic Games. And a little known fact, he was also the PA announcer for the Cincinnati Reds at one point in time. One of the best in the business, just a real good guy. We couldn't be more excited to have John Walton on the show. Thanks for the time, John. Really appreciate this, man.
Well, Chase, awfully nice introduction. Thank you. And always good to chat a little back home in Central PA. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know the folks here in Hershey are definitely waiting to hear your voice once again. How's the health?
Health is good. Yeah. So cancer scare, colon cancer and surgery that was just about 15 months ago now. But just prior to the season, got me under the hood and checked everything out, and I'm doing okay. So very happy about that, obviously. And it does kind of make you think too. I mean, everything's pretty precious, and taking care of yourself, getting tested. I can't stress that enough for everybody who's watching. Getting tested for colon cancer. I didn't have a symptom in the world. I felt fine. I didn't think anything was wrong. And you never know. So yeah, I can't encourage you enough. Get to your doc and get tested, and do it for yourself and do it for your family.
Everybody here in Central PA, once the word came down that you were battling the colon cancer, again, all kinds of well wishes here from the Central Pennsylvania area, and it's we couldn't be more happy to hear that you're doing well right now, John. We definitely appreciate and love the insight from you here on Hershey Bears and also Washington Capitals. We're going to talk a little bit about both here on this podcast. We're about a month into the season. Of course, the Capitals started off hot start 6-2, now back to 7-6-1. They did drop 4 in a row prior to the game on a Wednesday, which kind of a breakout game against the St. Louis Blues, giving it to the Blues 6-1. Last night against Pittsburgh, coming out a little bit slow, 2-0 lead for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They came out to a 3-0 lead then. Caps get 3 in the second period. Lose later on in the third period, 2 goals. One, obviously, a empty netter there. Lose last night. What are you seeing here from the early going for the Washington Capitals to start here, John?
I think, Chase, it's been pretty uneven, honestly. And, being where they are in the standings, the one thing that I think they're fortunate about right now is that they're not really losing a lot of ground. Everybody's kind of in that mushy middle. Nobody's running away with it. Nobody's losing every game. Everybody's within. At one point this week, the whole conference was within 5 points. So a lot of teams are doing okay one night and then maybe not so much the next. And I think that's exactly where the Capitals are. I really felt the game against St. Louis was a really nice offensive breakout game. This team just hasn't scored goals this year, really at all, and waiting for more of that, better on the power play, needing to be better on all special teams, penalty kill included. But, there was some momentum that was gained. Spencer Carberry said after the game last night in Pittsburgh that, they felt like they took some strides forward, and maybe they took some strides backwards against Pittsburgh. And I think that's kind of how it's been through the course of this season. They've got to score more goals. They've been in the bottom quarter of the league in goals per game. The one thing that has been fantastic has been goaltending. The Caps are giving up the fewest goals in the NHL right now, and Logan Thompson has a whole lot to do with that. He's going to start in Tampa, and, he's going to probably see, I think, a bulk of the starts here coming up in the next little bit just because the Caps don't have another back-to-back for a little while. So goaltending is good. Defense, 5-on-5 play has been very good. But special teams and more offense, more goals is what they're looking for. And this is not an easy trip either because you've got Tampa Bay that can put the puck in the net, and Carolina, who beat them in the playoffs last year. And you got the 2-time defending champs waiting for you at the end next Thursday. So a long trip and a tough trip, but hopefully they can start putting a few more red lights on here in the next 3 games.
Yeah, last night it looked like Charlie Lindgren had a little bit discomfort last night. How is he making out? Have you heard anything about him? Is he doing okay here today?
Yeah, it was a good observation because we saw the same thing, and Spencer Carberry was asked after the game about it, and he said he wasn't aware of anything like that. I don't know that it's anything serious. It did seem like he was a little bit in discomfort, just stretching out the leg a little bit, but hopefully he's fine and good to go. He's got a little bit of time anyway here. I think Logan's probably going to get the next couple. maybe even the rest of the games on the trip. It's possible because it's broken up enough. And Logan's just on such a heater. That's nothing even against Charlie. But when you got a goaltender, you're not scoring a lot of goals, and you got the number one goals against average, the best save percentage in the league. You're probably going to need to trot that out and kind of ride that for a while. So I would expect Logan probably to get the rest of the games on this trip anyway.
Yeah, and the Capitals, too, had a couple injuries here to start the season. How do you think they start to pick this back up? They've recalled a couple guys from the Bears up to the Caps this year. Just talk about the injury plague here early on in the season for the Caps, too.
The biggest one, and the one that is going to be the hardest to fill, is Pierre-Luc Dubois. And losing him because of what he does defensively at 5-on-5, what he does now on the penalty kill, really starting more this season. Number one power play unit. He's not very replaceable. And you've got to have a number of guys that fill in roles to make that a little bit more palatable, and nobody's really put a time frame on it. I don't get the sense it's going to be something in a week or two. I think it's going to be a while. There was even some talk of surgery. The team hasn't really commented on that, on whether it may happen still or not, but they didn't say no either. So I think it's going to be a while, and a couple of former Bears are really going to probably need to pick up some of the slack. Connor McMichael, very much, I think, on a defensive side of things, because Nick Dowd can't start every D-zone faceoff, and you need somebody else to be able to log some of those minutes and really take some of those tough matchups. I'll give you an example. Here in Tampa, it's going to be Braden Point on the other side, who has got wheels for days and great offense, 40-goal guy. And Connor's going to have a lot of that defensive responsibility. So a big test for him. He was a little bit in that position, in the center position, when we saw Tampa last month at Capital One Arena. That's a tough part of it. Connor's been fighting it offensively. He has only one goal, and that came on the power play. So trying to get going at even strength there. Hendrix Lapierre still looking for his first goal of the season. So down the middle, losing Dubois is a hit. But if you can get those guys going offensively and really on both sides of the puck, you're going to need, especially Connor, but everybody pulling their weight, and maybe a little bit more on the defensive side. So that's an issue. It's Dylan Strome hadn't missed a game due to injury in more than getting into his fourth season here, and he even missed a couple of games. He's back and seems fine. He had 3 points in Pittsburgh, and he's more than a point a game guy this season. That's basically who he's been now his entire career with Washington. Right. So don't think there's any fear there, but I think, Chase is just trying to find a little bit more offense. I mean, they just aren't scoring enough. The power play would go a long way in helping that. If they get a power play goal or two in Pittsburgh, they win that game. Last Saturday in Buffalo, they had 3 power plays in the third period. They convert on none of them, and they ended up losing in the shootout. You convert even one of those, you win. So the margins are slight. I don't think they're playing badly at all. They're great, really, at 5-on-5 for the most part through 14 games, but you got to score. And I think that's especially on the power play where they're going to have to try and figure it out.
Talk about another guy, too, the main guy there. Of course, he's off to a little bit of a slow start, had a memorable night Wednesday night. You've had a lot of memorable calls in your career. 900 goals for, of course, Alex Ovechkin Wednesday night, scoring that goal in St. Louis. Two-part question, John. Talk about his start, and also just talk about how awesome that call was for you. Heard the call by you on Wednesday night, the 900th goal. Only player in NHL history to score 900 goals. That pretty incredible stuff there for Ovi. And just talk about his start as well here to the season.
If you would have told me back in the day when I was in Hershey that I'd be able to be on this kind of ride, riding the buses to Wilkes-Barre and Binghamton and the rest, I wouldn't probably have believed the stratospheric heights I've been able to witness here over the last 15 years with this team. And watching 895 last year and being able to call that in a moment that's going to outlive me and a whole lot of other people, I think, because I don't think that's ever getting broken, especially now that he's at 900. It's just so hard to be that durable for 2 decades, and I just don't think any other player can do it. I just don't. So to be able to watch that, and the other night, I don't want to say 900 was anticlimactic compared to 895 because it's just an unbelievable number. You can't even wrap your head around it when you talk about 500 goals being such a big deal.
Incredible
to get to, and we're talking about 400 more goals beyond that. But 895 was just the lead up, it was years, most of my career here. He was still in the 300s when I got here. So the vast majority of them I've seen and I've called. And, for the big milestones, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, They're all memorable. I can tell you all of them with almost crystal clarity.
I'm
But
sure.
895 was just a whole different level because it was in anticipation of the greatest goal scoring record, the greatest record, I think, in our sport. And I got to be there and got to call it. And it's incredibly special. To the second part of your question, as far as the way he's gone this year, it's been tough. I mean, he's 40 now, and he didn't have really any significant time during training camp. He was out the first day and then didn't really get a chance to even play at all in the preseason until the very end. And I felt like at the beginning of the year, he was fighting that a little bit. He had 2 goals in 12 games to start. The power play hasn't been going great, and he's obviously a big part of that. So, that's kind of been coupled with, the 5-on-5 has been quiet at times offensively, and the whole team has. And I feel like in hockey, if one guy's going bad, sometimes it's contagious, and that can go good just as easy, the next day or the next game, and get on a heater. So hopefully for him and hopefully for the rest, he's able to do that. Heaven knows we've seen it before. Last year at the beginning of the season, he was just on fire until almost a year ago today when he broke his leg. And then he was out for 6 weeks, and he was just rolling before that. And then he just steamrolled right to 895 in those closing weeks. Never seen anything like it at age 39. So, yeah, if he can get going and the rest of the team can start putting it in, that would certainly enhance their chances of climbing the standings here. But, yeah, being around number 8 has done more for my career and Joe Beninati and a whole lot of other people, a lot of guys who have played with him and made money on it. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, 2 assists last night for Ovi as well. It's pretty memorable when you think about it. That's literally 18 seasons of 50 goals for 18 seasons in a career in the NHL. It's just totally unheard of.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I mean, for that point exactly, the durability. We were talking when we were in Pittsburgh, and it's just been one of the greatest player rivalries of all time. Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. And there are things that you look at and you say, of course, with Alex, it's the goals, and with Sidney, it's the points. But I think the durability for Alex and the ability to make players around him better for Crosby are some of the hallmarks that I think when they're both done, and obviously, at the age that they're at, there's not a lot of time left for either one of them. But I was amazed. Ben Kindle is 18 years old playing for Pittsburgh and is playing on that line. And we got talking when we were in Pittsburgh about how many guys have played with Sid over the years, and how many guys like Connor Sherry, who played with the Caps. He was one of those guys. I mean, there was Pascal Dupuis. I mean, there have been so many that have had that opportunity to make their careers because they got to play with him. And for Alex, it's been about the durability. He never missed. I remember in 2017, Chase, he gets hit by Nazem Kadri in the playoffs against Toronto. He's got a bruise on his leg that, I mean, I'm 6'2", and it would have gone the length of my leg. I've never
Right.
seen a bruise like that on a human before. And he didn't miss. He was gone for a bit. He missed a few shifts, and you thought he's not coming back. And he came back. You can't break him. He just answered the call for 2 decades, more than 2 decades now. And, Sidney wasn't quite as durable, but pretty close, especially once he had some early concussion issues in his career. After that, he's pretty durable too. But just reflecting how lucky we've been to see these 2 guys with one team. Only once in hockey history have forwards on each team played for one team and played for longer against one, or played against each other longer.
Wow.
And only these guys have done it with one team. The others didn't. Ron Francis and Mark Messier did 23 years facing each other, but did it with different teams. Nobody's ever done this. And for Pittsburgh and the legacy there, for Washington and the legacy and the goal scoring record, it's remarkable. I mean, just to have been able to watch it now almost 100 times, including the playoffs going head to head, it's one of the greatest things in hockey history.
Yeah, it's always a big time rivalry between those two. And of course, last night, the 99th meeting with Crosby and Ovechkin going at it in the NHL. Just absolutely unfathomable stuff there. Spencer Carberry, let's talk about him behind the bench. Of course, the Jack Adams Award winner last year for Coach of the Year. How has he been behind the bench, after taking the helm there in Washington? And how is he keeping those guys motivated up in Washington as well now?
He's the best. I have been very fortunate to be around some wonderful people who have been involved in the coaching staffs from my time in Hershey. I met Bruce Boudreau when he was just starting out with Hershey after coming from the Kings organization and winning the Cup in 2006, and then getting to work with him here. Spencer Carberry to me is the whole package. He is the first time a coach has been younger than me, and I found that vaguely unnerving at the first, but he is without a doubt, and I don't say it just because we have the same haircut, but he is a wonderful human being. He's a people guy. He is a tremendous cerebral coach who relates to his players, who communicates well. He's built a staff here of, I mean, how many former Bears coaches can you have, right? You got Scotty
Right.
Allen. Now we got Pat Weller here,
Weller. Yep.
which I love because I had, I've known those guys going back to Hershey. And it's just, we talk about the players that come from Giant Center and Hershey Park Drive to come to Washington, but it's almost our whole bench. And
It's
I want to
incredible.
forget Emily Engelnatsky and our video staff. She was in Hershey too. So an incredible group of people who have come up through the system and as a staff, and Spencer would be the first to tell you, it's not just him, it's the staff, and it is, but he's the guy at the top. He's the CEO of the coaching staff, and it is an unbelievable ability to work a room. I love being able to. A few weeks ago, we had an event with some sponsors where it was, 50, 60 people in the room, and it's just a Q&A, and I was leading it, and he's talking, and he loves being in a room like that. I don't have to do anything in a situation like that. It's like throwing red meat to a lion. He's gonna run with it. And that's the way he is in life. That's the way he is with his family. That's the way he is with his players. I've never met anybody quite like him. I love him. And I know his players do too. He has all the time in the world for the media and talking with us, even when times are bad. And right now, hey, you've lost 5 of 6, but it's real easy to talk when times are good. He talks regardless. And it's a mark of character for him. I really have enjoyed working with him day to day here since he got here. I knew him when he was in South Carolina 10 years ago, but I didn't really know him until he got here. And the pipeline from Hershey to DC continues, and I suspect it will for a long time to come.
Talk about the defense, too, for the Washington Capitals. Jacob Chikrin, he's having a great year to start. John Carlson's always a solid guy in the backfield. I mean, the longevity of John Carlson, it's crazy to think about when you were back in Hershey, that back-to-back Calder Cup championship team. He's pretty much the only guy that still remains with the Washington Capitals. He came up through the system. Just talk about the defensive side of things for the Washington Capitals this year. Always have a strong front there, but like you said, they need the offense and relying a lot on the defense here this year.
I think it keeps me young, or at least makes me feel that way when
Right.
Johnny and Alex are still here. But they're in their last year of their contracts, and I know there's a day coming when they won't be. And when they're gone, there will be no one left from when I got here that was already here. So, but yeah, to your point, Jacob Chikrin is probably the next 1A defenseman on this team, top pair, obviously. But I think he was brought in with that in mind, that Father Time is undefeated, and there will be a time when number 74 moves on, and Jacob, no doubt, will slide into that role in the offense that he brings. An overtime winner against Tampa Bay a few weeks ago. So, yeah, I think when you have a solid 1-6 that this team certainly does, that's a big plus. You got to build from the net out. You got the goalies, you got the D. The offense will come. No roster in the salary cap era is perfect. The Caps would love to be faster up front. They are still striving to do that. This is still a retool on the fly a couple of years down the road. And, it's been good. I mean, they made the playoffs, went out in the first round quick. When the playoffs last year, got to the second round. So you're hoping that progression continues, but it is not a finished body of work here. There's still work to be done, maybe some assets to acquire before it's all done. And I suspect that will happen. And the roster as it looks today will be different a year from now, but they're coming, and they've got a lot of nice foundation. Jacob Chikrin's certainly a big part of that.
The Metropolitan Division, every year, it, always a feisty division. The Devils are off to a good start. Pittsburgh's always good. Carolina's always in the mix as well. How do you see the division playing out here as we keep going on with the NHL season, John?
Total grab bag. I look at, I really thought at the beginning of the year, I would have said my top 3 would have been Carolina 1, Washington 2, New Jersey 3. And I think I'm inclined to stick with that, even though it's been a little bit of a rougher start than we were hoping for the Caps. But, I think they're going to be fine. I mean, Dylan Strome was so fired up after the game last night. I said, no, we're a good team, and we're going to be a good team. And I think there is some frustration there. But I think that's probably about right. New Jersey is having the year I think a lot of people thought they would have had the last couple of years, and injuries have always derailed them. And I don't know that New Jersey has the team toughness that a team like the Capitals have, or others. I mean, there's maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't. I mean, their skill is off the charts. I mean, when you start with Jack Hughes, you're in a really good place. Their goaltending is good. It's funny. Jacob Markstrom is just one of those guys. Everybody's got their unicorn team that just always have trouble with a team. And for Markstrom, it's always been the Capitals. Caps have always played him very tough. They've beaten him a whole lot more than they've lost to him. But he's a good goalie, and he wins a lot of games. So their goaltending's pretty solid. New Jersey, I think, is a playoff team. I think what happens after that is interesting to me because Columbus has potential, but they never quite can pull it all together. Can they do it? Maybe. They've got as good an offensive group as I think they've ever had. They're as good down the middle at center as I think they've ever been. I think their questions are on D and in goal. Philadelphia is better than I thought they'd be. Honestly, I think Trevor Zegras is helping them a lot. We haven't played them yet, but I've watched them a couple times. That team's taken some steps forward. The Islanders are still a ways away, but Matthew Schaefer is the best young defenseman I think I've ever seen at 18 years of age. He's going to be a load for everybody. So every team has something that, on any given night, they can come up and, hit you on the nose with the newspaper. So I think it's going to be an interesting race. I think you are not going to win a division like running away the Capitals. Nobody's going to do what the Capitals did last year, where everybody kind of struggled and the Caps just had everything go right and they ended up blowing everybody out of the water. It's not going to be that kind of race this year. I think it's going to be much more of a very tight, making the playoffs is going to be difficult. 3-4 teams, probably 4, end up making it. Never know what the wild card, but I think the Caps are right in the middle of it, and there's a lot of teams that can make a case too.
Always a fun division every single year in that Metropolitan division. After your 4-game road trip here, John, you guys are going to be home for 7 of the 9 coming up at Capital One Arena. Struggled a little bit here at home this year. Any one sign that you can see right now of the struggles that they're having in Washington playing there here to start the season?
Yeah, it's always weird. I mean, this team's been such a good road team, and they were one of the very best in the league last year. And home, they were good too. I think it relates to a lot of their overall problems where they're just not scoring enough and generating more chances. I mean, defensively, they have had some gems. Minnesota came in at the end of October and they just shut them down. I mean, Minnesota couldn't even get a shot on goal. And when they're at their best, they work from their own end out. And a lot of the philosophy, I think, is, the offense will take care of itself. You take care of things defensively, wait for your opportunities, be patient, stick to the game plan, and it'll come. And to this point, it really hasn't come as much as it needs to. And, I think that's it. Nothing stays good forever. Nothing stays bad forever. I think the offense will get better. Tom Wilson's been outstanding. That's a pretty good place to start, leading the team in goals, leading the team in points. That line minus Dubois, it's going to be up to Connor McMichael to kind of jumpstart that. But Alexei Protas is going to be fine. He kind of went quiet there for a little bit too, but came back at a nice goal in Buffalo last weekend. So hopefully he's coming too. It's just scoring more. I don't worry about this team defensively at all. I think 1 through 6, they're solid. Even 1 through 7, really. 7 legit NHL defensemen. But they've got to find a way to just put the puck in the net a little bit more.
Alexi Protas, also Dylan Strome having a good start to the season as well. Talk a little bit about their progression here. I actually just talked to his brother Ilya the other day while I was out at the golf course. He stopped in to do some golfing out there to talk about his start and also Dylan Strome's start to the season too.
Fairview Golf Course, my favorite golf course in central Pennsylvania.
We always got a spot for you, Johnny.
Yeah, listen. True story. When I got hired and I came to D.C., the last interview I did with the late Greg Mace on ABC 27, I wore my Fairview shirt to do the interview. And Jonesy said I could come back and play anytime I wanted to. So that's always nice and always appreciate it.
Yeah.
Ilya is going to be a horse, and Alexei already is. And it's just more proof of what goes on in Hershey translates to NHL success. And with that first Calder Cup under Todd Nelson, having that experience and Alexei going all the way and winning a title for Hendricks and for Connor and for all the guys on that team, that's huge. You learn how to win. And that's what makes the Bears and what makes this affiliation, which is the best in the NHL, and it's not particularly close, where you have the geographic proximity. You're only a couple hours away. You've got the best fans in the AHL. You've got an NHL type facility along Hershey Park Drive for these guys to train in and become pros. And you've got guys like Ole Kolzig and Brooks Orpik and the folks in player development for this team that are overseeing things there. It's awesome. I mean, I love being able to go back, and it was great for me during those Calder Cup runs to see it. But what I saw there was Alexei being able to really gain that experience of winning a championship, albeit one level down, and then watching it translate to the NHL level, and just a monster breakout season last year to be a 30-goal guy. So the best is yet to come for him. I don't think he's reached his full potential yet, and he's just outstanding. He skates so well, and he can do so many things. And his brother, from what we've seen, sure looks like he's going to be the same. And having both of those guys in this lineup, and when Andrew Crystal's ready, and look, there's no rushing these guys. Andrew Crystal needs time in Hershey, and Eric Smateko and all of these guys. That's what Washington does. You need to go and play in Hershey for a while. You need to ride the buses. You got to become a pro. You've got to hone your craft, overcook these guys. So when they get to DC, they're ready to hit the ground running. And Alexei Protas is the best example in a long time, but that's been going on for a long time. When I was there, when we first affiliated, it was Mike Green. I mean, Mike spent most of his first year with the Bears and even part of a second where he was up and down. Like, listen, that's just the philosophy here. A lot of teams want to rush guys to the NHL, and it's a mistake. I mean, you don't want an 18-year-old kid playing in your lineup. I mean, some are capable, but it's very, very few of the guys that can do that. You want to be able to say, look, you go pay the price for a little bit, and you work hard, and you show us what you can do first, and become a professional on and off the ice. And no better place to do that than Hershey. Absolutely none.
Andrew Crystal is a shorter guy. Ilya Protas is a taller guy. He made me feel very small in that pro shop. I can tell you what, Ilya Protas is a big boy. He is an absolute big boy, and I think he's going to be a stud once he gets, like you said, gets some reps down in Hershey and makes his way to the NHL. He's going to be a stud upcoming for the Washington Capitals at some point.
Yeah, I think so. And that's where this is still that retool on the fly, so to speak, from a Capitals perspective. These guys aren't quite ready yet. But you still have a solid team that's here, and those guys, one by one, those holes are going to open up, and they're going to get their opportunities here. And when they do, it's going to be fun.
You have, of course, been a part of many Calder Cup championships with the Bears. You've now been part of the Stanley Cup championship with the Washington Capitals. I got to know, when you got that Stanley Cup, man, what did you drink or eat out of that thing? And did you watch it ahead of time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, blessed beyond reason. So if you add it up, and it was really neat for me with the last two Calder Cups in Hershey to be just in a totally different role, a small role to be fair, but to be there to report for the Caps, be a sideline reporter of sorts, interviewing the guys on the ice after they won. So being around now 5 Calder Cup titles, going back to 2006, 2009, 2010, and then the last 2 here recently under Todd Nelson, who we saw in Pittsburgh the other night, and very happy for him too. But just being able to watch that, and then the Stanley Cup, of course, it's tough to top that. Watching something you dream about and you hope that you'd have from a broadcasting perspective. Not everybody gets a chance to do that. Rick Jeanneret was the voice of the Sabres forever and never got to. And I thought about Rick at that time. I think about guys that have, were around longer than me that never got a chance to do that. It was amazing from that night, having the cup of the house. I was literally the last guy the night before the banner raising. The last stop was at my house for the night, which was awesome. And having friends and family over. Mitch Korn was our goaltending coach, and I've known Mitch most of my life. I've known him since I was 14 years old. He worked with my father, funny enough, and they were both at Miami University, where I went to school in Oxford, Ohio. So we took the cup. It was Mitch's day, but I mean, Mitch made it as much my day as his, which was incredibly generous. And going back and seeing where I started and going to my college bar with a cup. And if you ever have a chance to do that, do that. That's a place where I had buffalo wings. Actually, drinking beer out of it's great. But for me, it was actually like I used to go up. I didn't have a lot of money, and I would scrape together whatever. I was friends with a bartender, and he'd throw me a few drafts every now and then, which was awfully nice. But it was, the wings that I would always out at a wing deal at lunch, and I'd go, and sometimes that would be my lunch in college.
Can't beat that.
You can't beat it. And I thought, how full circle is it to come back here and eat those wings out of the Stanley Cup? My family was there. Every broadcaster in Miami University history, essentially, including Chris Kerber, who's the voice of the St. Louis Blues. Chris has been, my dad was one of his professors at Miami. And Chris actually got on the call for 900 the other
Oh,
night,
that's awesome.
which was a great full circle
Yeah,
moment.
that's awesome.
And hockey has been so good to me for so many things, and just has given way more to me than I've ever given to it. But yeah, that was a good moment. College bar, Stanley Cup. Morgan Wallen was there incredibly, which on stage, and we ended up going over. He hadn't quite gone super nuclear with his career yet, but he was in a small venue across the street, and we had the cup on stage with him, and it was just surreal. I mean, now 7, pushing 8 years on, just to remember all that's pretty great.
Yeah, what an awesome memory. The Bears starting off their season, starting off a little sluggish, but they've put it together here the past couple of games. The Bears Capitals now affiliated for the 20th year this year. All kinds of celebrations going to happen here in Chocolate Town. Talk not only about that affiliation, but also they got a new boss now behind the bench, Derek King. Have you been able to see any of the Bears this year, and what are you seeing from those guys here this early in the season?
A lot of reports. I haven't really had a chance to watch, just because when they get going, it was after we had started. I do want to get up to a game or two at some point. But I did get to know Derek King quite a bit during training camp. Can't imagine a better guy to fill Todd Nelson's skates, because that's a tough role after winning back-to-back cups and all of the incredible success that Nelly had. But Derek's that guy. He coached Connor Bedard in Chicago. He's coached in the AHL before. He was a teammate of my broadcast partner in the full circle of 6 degrees of John Walton, I guess we're doing today. But he and Savvy were teammates in Sault Ste. Marie back in the day. So, yeah, incredible. Great to talk to him. Really just a nurturing figure that I think is exactly what this organization needs. You want someone like that to interact, and he talks with Spencer a lot, and they're in close communication, so everybody here knows what's going on there, and that's what makes it work. I mean, you've got this communication that has been going back to when Bruce got the job with the Caps, that we always felt like we had one of our guys there,
Yeah,
and I was
sure.
still in Hershey at the time he left. And, now to be able to see that next generation, and now I'm on the other side of it 15 years, and, seeing Spencer come up after coaching the Bears, and Scotty Allen coming up after coaching the Bears, and Patrick Weller after coaching the Bears. And, that's just, it is such a symbiotic relationship between the two teams. And, Brian Helmer, when he took over, it's just, here's a guy who's captained Hershey teams to championships too. And I got to be there for those. So, I can't imagine, a better guy overseeing the hockey side of things there, and, the job that Zach and Jesse and all the staff do there. It's so much fun for me to professionally still have a reason to come home, right? I moved to Hershey in 2002, and not a single person knew who I was. And I was filling the shoes of a guy that went to the NHL in Dave Mishkin, who had been there for 8 years. And, in Hershey, you got to prove it. You got to prove yourself worthy, whether you're a player or a coach or a broadcaster. You got to bring it every night, because, the fan base demands it, and they should. I loved it. I learned so much about hockey and life, and working in Hershey and being around it, that now that I have a chance to, when I come back, it's just, like, time never really changed that much. Like, that's the best part about Hershey. A lot of the same people are there, a lot of the folks in the off ice crew, or the people in the press box, and it just feels like time hasn't passed. And there's very few things in life that really feel like that. And for me to be able to come back and see everybody, and I think a lot of people feel that way too when they go back after being away. It's I talked to Mike Green about that just a few weeks ago. That you're so busy, like, oh, I want to go to the NHL, I want to work in the NHL, I want to play in the NHL if you're Mike. But I think, when you get older, I think you appreciate, how special Central Pennsylvania really is, and what part it played in your life. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. I know a lot of players who are there too. So always nice to talk about, always nice to reminisce, and always nice to come home.
One of those constants too, John, in Hershey, not only is the championships, also the goaltending year in, year out. They got two good ones this year, Clay Stevenson, also Garen Bjorklund this year. What'd you see from those guys maybe in training camp? Both those guys looking like they could certainly take the next level and go to the NHL as well at some point.
Yeah, I like them both. In fact, I didn't know a lot about Garen Bjorklund, but we saw him play a little bit for the Caps during the preseason. Thought he was really good.
Yeah.
And Clay Stevenson kind of got the seal of approval from Ole Kolzig, who is basically the godfather of goaltending in this
Yes,
organization. So
yes, he is.
to be able to sign him as a free agent out of Dartmouth, and he's gotten a little bit of time. It was fun seeing him make his NHL debut with family in attendance in Pittsburgh last year. So yeah, I think we're pretty well versed, and I think in good hands. I think the thing about the Bears this year as a whole is they're younger, right? Like you don't have as many of those veteran guys, and a lot of those who won cups have moved on. But that's kind of the nature of it. And, to be able to reload with all of the prospects. I mean, listen, I go back to when the prospect pipeline was pretty crazy good in, winning in '06 and going to the finals in '07 and winning in '09 and winning in 10. There were a lot of veterans there and a lot of prospects. I think the prospects are as good now as they've ever been in 20 years. I mean, you've got guys, first round picks and goaltending prospects, and there's a lot to like about what's coming. And my goodness, if Cole Hudson is there for any length of time, boy, they're going to be talking about him at Hershey for a long time. He may be there as soon as the spring, depending on what he wants to do. His sophomore year at Boston U right now, this kid can play, and he's going to have some time there too. So, the faces always change, but, the mission of winning in Hershey never changes. And that's, I think, as good now as it's really ever been.
Is there any one guy that you may have seen in training camp for the Bears that may make an impact with the Caps at some point this season? Could you see that happening?
I mean, I think, I really, Andrew Crystal almost made this team last year. And I don't know that it's fair to put that expectation on him now just because, there is development and he's learning how to be a pro really for the first time, right? And it's a grind. Being in the AHL on the buses is a grind, and playing 2 and sometimes 3 games a weekend is a grind. And you got to learn to be a pro, and it's difficult. As good as he was in junior, and he was outstanding, it does take some time. But at some point he's going to get a look for sure. I think from a Caps perspective, we would like to get a little healthier and not have to worry about it. But with Dubois out, that does change the math a little bit. So, there may be other opportunities there for forwards that might not have been. But we'll see. I mean, I really like him. I think he's got a great shot. He's got a quick release. His skating's gotten a lot better, continue to improve. I mean, Alexei Protas a couple years ago, there was still some skating help that he probably needed, but boy, he doesn't need it anymore. He's flying.
Yeah.
So, that's some of that progression too that, we can't wait to, when he gets that opportunity, it's going to be special. And I think he's got a chance to be a really good player here.
You mentioned, of course, when you were in Hershey, you replaced Dave Mishkin. Absolutely legendary voice. He's now, you're probably down in Tampa right now. You're going to probably meet up with him at some point in time here in the next 2 days, I am sure. It was obviously big shoes to fill. You filled them with ease. Absolutely no problem when you came to Hershey. Just talk about your transition from going from where you were to being the Hershey Bears radio announcer when you took over for Dave.
I always know exactly how many years that Mish has been in Tampa because it's how many years I was in Hershey plus Washington, and then you get that numbers.
Right.
Mish has now been in Tampa for 24 seasons, which is incredible. I don't know where it went. I've known Mish more than half my life. I was the play-by-play guy in Cincinnati in the ECHL, and they were in the Bears division. And Dave and I became friends almost immediately, long before I even got to Hershey. And I said, if you ever leave, I said, I hope you call me. And he did. And he got the job when Jay Feaster, a longtime Herco executive, he came to Tampa and worked for the Lightning. And it was right at the end of the season. It was September. It was hurry up and pack up the U-Haul and move to Hershey. And I had been to Hershey as a visitor. I had been at Hershey Lodge. I knew plenty of places in Hershey, but I didn't really know much about the area outside of that. And I didn't know a soul. I came walking in. Actually, it's funny. The first game I ever saw, and we wasn't on the air. We didn't do preseason games back then, but in the fall of '02, we played the last preseason games at Hershey Park Arena before Giants Center opened. And I'm a Minnesota guy. I grew up in Minnesota and huge Twins fan. And the Twins were playing in the playoffs against Oakland. And in the old media room at Hershey Park Arena, I'm watching the game. Nobody knows. I met the media, Tim Leone and Dave Satili and Harold Ziegler and Kevin Freeman, all the writers, and Doug Yingst had taken me around. But I have nothing to do. I'm not calling the game. It's a preseason game, and I don't have anyone to talk to once the game starts. So I wandered into the media room, and I wanted to see the Twins. The Twins were on TV, and there's one guy in the room, and I'll never forget this. One person in the room, and I was like, you want to know you've come to a pretty special place for hockey. Another Twins fan from Minnesota, coached at the University of Minnesota, also may have coached the Olympic team. Herb Brooks was in the room. He was the director of player personnel for the Penguins, and they were playing Wilkes-Barre, but he was sneaking in at the same time. And it was one of the few times in my life I almost didn't know what to say, because he was such a legendary figure in my growing up and coaching the Gophers and then winning gold and Miracle on Ice and all of that. And the movie was being made at that time too. He passed away in a car accident not even 12 months later. So I never got to finish that conversation, but the first moment I ever had in Hershey, I run into, in my view, one of the biggest hockey legends of all time, and just hanging out at Hershey Park Arena. From that and opening up Giant Center, and now it's been there so long, it's incredible to me to believe that much time has passed. But moving the offices there and doing the first game in that building and watching championships won, it's been a great ride, and Hershey was such a big part of it for me. And it wouldn't have been for Dave. Yeah, I mean, Dave and I we went face to face in the Eastern Conference Finals. We knew one of us was going to call a Stanley Cup final that year, and it ended up being me, thankfully.
Yeah.
But Mish got it. Mish has said 3 times over. Mish has called 3 cups now for Tampa. So he's doing okay. He's both of us have had a lot of fun, and both of us certainly grown our professional legs a little bit while we were with the Bears.
You guys have both had just an absolute amazing career in broadcasting, and I know the folks here in Central PA miss both of your voices. Zach Fish does an awesome job with the Hershey Bears right now, but we definitely miss both your calls, and you guys are always welcomed here in Central PA with open arms, no doubt. Talk about your career in general too, John. I caught a number of different memorable moments, just like the one you just called this week with Alex Ovechkin. Any one that sticks out, whether it be with Washington or with Hershey? Can you pick just one?
I think it's probably a tie between 895 and calling the Stanley Cup winner. I mean, those are just so rare, and being able to be part of that. I would say, from a Hershey perspective, the first Cup win in Milwaukee, just because my career to that point, 3 years in Cincinnati, never won a playoff series. My first 3 years in Hershey, only one playoff series we lost. We didn't even make the playoffs the other 2 years. So I was a good 7 years into the pros. I hadn't even seen a playoff series win before. And then Bruce showed up and winning the Cup in 06 and doing it the way they did it, and then going back in 07 and all of that. I think my favorite, though, I mean, winning the first one was obviously special, and you can't replace your first one. But the first one at home, Giant Center was still not Hershey Park Arena for those first few years for a lot of fans. And I know for fans for a long time, you might even still feel that way. It was always, we missed the arena. It said it's not going to be our home until we win a cup here. And we won 2, but we won on the road. We won in Winnipeg and we won in Milwaukee, but we didn't win at home until 2010. And Ray Bourque was there because Chris was playing there. And 4 defensemen scored goals that night: Carlson, Alsner, and Patty McNeil, and win 4-0, win going away. The best part, all 3 times the Bears won the Cups, they in the Cup clinching game, they blew them out. So it was this wax poetic. There was no, oh my God, they might do it tonight. It's like, they're doing it tonight. I get to just hang out here for an hour and a half. And that was really fun. The 2010 winning it, Don Scott announcing 1 minute to go. I've told Don this, I've told anybody. I think it was louder at 1 minute to go than it was even at the end, because the Bears had won, I think it was like 34 years or something at home. And the 1 minute to go was as loud as I ever heard that building. And then afterward, and in beating Texas, and Ray Bourque on the ice and all of that. I will say the most dramatic call in Bears history forever and always, it won't be Dave, and it's not me, it was Zach. To be able to be in the building in Coachella, an overtime game 7. Look, no one's beating
a.m.
Yeah. There could be hockey in Hershey for 1,000 more years, Chase. It's never going to get topped. Zach got to have the best call of all time. An amazing call for an amazing moment. I mean, you script up that as a kid on the driveway, and it actually happened. And I was just thrilled to be in the building to get to watch it. I was standing in the tunnel and the bench just exploded. And I was like, I didn't even know that Vecchione had scored because I couldn't see that corner. But I was like, oh my God. And then we go running out, and all of a sudden, it's like, I can't believe that just happened. And Zach called it. So that is the moment. There is no topping that. But for all of us and all the moments, and I don't want to. And Dan Kamal was with the Thrashers for a long time too. I don't want to forget him. But we've had a good run on the microphone, I think, in Hershey with all. But I think all of us would say Zach got the moment that just can't be topped. You can't physically top that. It's as good as it gets.
A lot of special moments here in Hershey for you in Washington as well. We've had a lot of great play-by-play announcers here in Hershey. I'd be remiss. I can't leave this one out before I let you go, John, and I probably can't go back to the golf course to my job if I don't ask you this question. I know it's in a book. I know it's in Bruce Boudreau's book about you losing your pants at a game and somebody taking your pants at a game. Very funny story. It's in a book.
It's so I didn't lose them; they were taken from me.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it.
So it was, without a doubt, one of the crazier moments. We were in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It was the day after Christmas. We got caught in traffic, and we were really late getting to the game. And so day travel coming off Christmas, and the guys wore their tracksuits, coaches too. So Bob Woods, assistant coach, Bruce Boudreau, head coach. Doug Yingst and I are the only two guys in suits. So we get off the bus and we're running. Like, it's like not like now I've got engineers who take care of stuff. I got my
Right.
crate, I'm running in, and I'm trying to get everything hooked up because we're on the air in like 25 minutes. Like, the guys got to throw their gear on and go. And Doug comes out the tunnel at the old arena at Harbor Yard there in Bridgeport, and it starts screaming up to the press box, John. Like, what? I'm fine. So I'm like, come downstairs, and I'm like, what could you possibly need me for right now? And we walk down the tunnel in words that will never escape my brain. We have a problem. We think you can help, and you're not going to like it. And okay, what? Like, this isn't. So we walk in, and all the players who were rushing, last I saw them 6 or 7 minutes ago, are now all laughing hysterically. And everything stopped. I was like, this is bizarro world. We got to hit warm up in 15 minutes. What are you guys doing? Why am I in the room to begin with? And so he takes me into the coach's office, and Bob Woods is doubled over, just laughing in the corner, tears in his eyes. I don't understand what's happening until I look at Bruce. He has a suit. He put on his tie, these ratty boxer shorts, no pants, angry as all get out. And oh, wait. He's like, my pants aren't going to fit him. He's like, doesn't matter. It's all we got. It's day after Christmas. We got to go. You got to. I'm not getting, what am I going to wear? Yeah. Wears track pants. It's like, we are not the same size. Like, are you kidding me? So I got overruled. I had track pants that are 3 sizes too big, hanging onto them, walking up, had to sit down the whole game. Bruce he can't even get them done. So he's pulling like the bell as tight he could. He said afterward he couldn't even yell at the referees because he couldn't breathe on the bench. And then he gave him back to me. It was the only time we beat Bridgeport in like 2 years there. They were really good against us in that stretch. And Bruce is superstitious. He said, never again. So, and I said, good, never again. So yeah, that was the night that I had to call a game without my pants. That is the thing that happened. One of these stories of Hershey lore. It's true.
There were some rumors out there that Bruce was walking very gingerly in those pants.
There was no tunnel to the bench. He had to go across the ice in them. I thought I was going to watch my pants explode right in the middle of the ice.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're always gracious with your time. The great John Walton, the voice of the Washington Capitals. John, it's been so much fun, man. Can't thank you enough for your time. Hopefully we can do this again at some point. Wishing you the best of luck the rest of the season, also with the health as well, man, and have fun on that road trip here.
Will do. Thanks, Chase. Thanks for having me.